All right, good morning, everybody, fellow councillors, staff members, and members of the viewing public. Welcome to our Perth County Council regular meeting for Thursday, March 19th, 2026. Voting start time is 9 a.m. At this point, I will call upon everybody present for a moment of reflection, please. Okay, thank you. Our land acknowledgement reads as follows. We acknowledge that Perth County is situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, who have a long-standing relationship with the land and water throughout the region. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. As a county, we have a responsibility for reconciliation and the continued stewardship of the land on which we live and work. All right, item 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Haven't received any notice so far pecuniary interest from my colleagues, but don't see any now. Noting that we have all councillors in attendance, but at any point during the meeting, should the need arise, please alert the chair accordingly. Item 5, confirmation of the agenda. I'll turn to Tyler Sager to inquire if there's been any additions or deletions to today's agenda.
Perfect. So through the wording, we have 2 additions under item 14.1. Closed session not pertaining to litigation, CAO. The other one is closed session not pertaining to identifiable individual. There'll be a verbal report for each other.
Okay. Thanks, Tyler. Recommendation is that the March 19, 2026 agenda approved as amended. Looking for a mover. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded Deputy Warden Orr. Discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6, our consent agenda. We have the healthy consent agenda of 22 items posted. Colleagues, is there anything that you wish to withdraw for further discussion or debate? Councillor McDermott, go ahead, please.
610.
610. 610 is Municipality of St. Charles strengthening self-defense protections and addressing home invasions. You wish to speak to that separately? Okay. All right, so full 610. Anyone else? I might pull 6 for just for comments. Rural Affairs Administrators and Thompson Edco Conference. All right, so recommendation that council receives the consent agenda item 6.1 to 6.22, removing 6.10 and 6.4 for further discussion, and approves the March 5th, 2026 council minutes. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Okay, Councillor McDermott, you wish to speak to 6.10. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'd like to support this because it seems that in the last while, especially in the news, there's been people who have had home invasions and they've defended themselves. And it turns out that they seem to be almost prosecuted more than the person committing the crime.
Okay. All right. So you're wishing to make a motion to support that. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Duncan, you wish to second? All right, so we have a mover and seconder. Any discussion on that motion? Deputy Warden, go ahead.
Just want to point out this was also brought up at Perth South Council. We decided to defer any letters of support because we believe that it is in legislative for Bill 34, correct me if I'm wrong. So they are working on it, and we kind of wanted to see what they came up with first. It's just a...
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? You're still into going to go ahead with the motion, Councilor McPherson? You're still willing to proceed?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, no, I just want to double check. So we have a mover and seconder. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? I believe that's carried, so. All right, agenda item 6.4, just a comment. This was a letter received from Minister Lisa Thompson, Minister of Rural Affairs, addressed to myself, but circulated to the rest of council. Minister wanted to share her congratulations with the County of Perth for being named a finalist in both the visitor attraction and tourism product development category and the excellence in rural economic development category at the recent Economic Developers Council of Ontario Awards of Excellence. In particular, the minister was pleased to learn about the project titled Discover More Flavor Farm Stand Project, which engaged students to build farm stands and helps to promote increased farm gate sales across Perth County. So once again, it was a pleasure to receive that letter of congratulations from Minister Thompson, and wanted to extend congratulations to our economic development team for the work that they've done on that project and for the recognition with their nomination. So that's all I wanted to convey there.
Do you want to take a motion just to receive that for information?
Yes, okay. So is there a motion to receive item 6.4 as information? Councilor Christopher, Councilor McKenzie, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried, thank you. Moving into section 7, public meetings, public hearings, and delegations. We have none scheduled for today. So we'll move into section 8, staff reports, 8.1, the CAO's department, and 8.1.1, the health and safety policy statement. And we will have Crystal Holmes, our HR generalist, to lead us in that discussion. Good morning, Crystal. First.
Good morning, Warden and members of County Council. The report before you relates to the county's health and safety policy statement. Each year, management, in collaboration with our Joint Health and Safety Committee, reviews this statement to ensure it remains current and is posted on all health and safety notice boards across the organization. Following this year's review, housekeeping updates were required to change the dates on the document, and we are seeking Council's approval of the 2026 Health and Safety Policy Statement as presented in the report. This statement reinforces our commitment to maintaining a health and safety workplace, encouraging employees' input and collaboration on safety matters, and recognizing that health and safety is a shared responsibility amongst the employers, supervisors, and employees. Thank you so much. We look forward to continuing to promote a safety culture in the county, and I welcome your questions.
Okay, thanks, Crystal. Colleagues, questions for Crystal on this report? Don't see any. Recommendation reads as follows: that council receives the 2026 Health and Safety Policy Statement report, and that council approves the 2026 Health and Safety Policy Statement. Moved by Councilor Kellum, seconder Councilor Wilhelm. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Crystal. All right, moving into section 8.2, our corporate services. 8.2.1, the 2025 Perth County Weed Report. Tyler Sager, Manager of Legislative Services, will lead us in that discussion. The floor is yours, Tyler.
Perfect. So thank you. And through the warden, before council is the 2025 Perth County Weed Report prepared by Martin Smith, the Perth County Forestry Inspector. This is an annual overview of the forestry inspector's work on noxious weeds and invasive species. Enforcement activities were authorized by council and are under the Weed Control Act, RSO 1990. To look at some of the activity highlights in 2025, we see that there were 12 complaints received regarding weed problems. There were only 2 complaints involved roadside weed problems in Perth County. The majority of complaints involved the giant hogweed, the sow thistle, thistle species, and dogs strangling by. Complaints generally were from neighboring farmers and landowners that were concerned about the spread to their properties. Also noted was that the township and county officials and staff are making serious efforts to control weeds on the road right-of-ways. So just kind of attached there as well as the regulatory context, there is the provincial noxious weed list, which contains 25 species, and that schedule is attached to the report. Perth County also has 2 additional local noxious weeds, which is the velvet leaf and the purple loose strife. Additionally here, the weed control enforcement in urban areas, this kind of goes back to the last council meeting and previous conversation, is for the protection of lawns or gardens. It's usually best undertaken through municipal property standards bylaw. So just wanted to kind of bring that up again at this meeting with this report. Some of the emerging concerns that we see in the county with respect to this topic are that invasive species are not currently designated as noxious weeds. Species of concern include the garlic mustard, Phragmites, which is common reed, and Himalayan balsam. Giant hogweed continues to generate significant public concern, as we also learned from the previous presentation from the Upper Thames Conservation Authority. Also noted, or I should note with this, is just again to kind of go back to previous conversations and the resolution that was passed by council on January 22nd with regards to the approval of the following edition of the 2026 budget, which was the giant hogweed 25,000, with no action taken until further consultation with the county stewardship program is completed. So in relation to this report, as well as with the presentation by the Upper Thames, we feel like there's at least some information there for council's consideration. With that being said, if there's any questions, you can please let me know. I'd be happy to pass those along to Marvin. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks, Tyler. Questions for Tyler on this report? Okay, don't see any questions. Then recommendation reads as follows: that council receives the 2025 Perth County Weed Report. Moved by Councillor McDermott, seconder, Councillor Kiesenberg. Any further discussion? Councillor McKenzie, go ahead, please.
I'll certainly support that, but I think that this is probably the opportunity to address what was carried over from 2 meetings ago with regards to the money that we had set aside for invasive species. And I do have a motion or a resolution for that, but you can deal with the one first and then deal with that one, I guess.
Yeah.
How do you want to do it?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll deal with the report first, and then anything arising from the report, we can follow up. Okay, so noted. Any further discussion on the report? All right, I'll call the question on the report. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Okay, Councillor McKenzie, you wanted to proceed with arising from the report.
As I said, this carries over from a couple meetings ago and from the budget item that we put in there. My motion is that we utilize the funds set aside in the reserve from this year's budget up to $5,000 for control of invasive species such as giant hogweed, Japanese knotweed, and Phragmites found on county property, and further that a report be received by county council before the 2027 budget is finalized to assess the progress of this project.
Okay. Motion's been tabled. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Kiesenberg, you wish to second? Okay, so mover and seconder. So can you maybe elaborate a little bit more, Councillor McKenzie, on what you're intending?
This, there may be other invasive species, but those are the 3 that we talked about, and those are the 3 that seem to be an issue in certainly the southern part of the county. And that goes along with the presentation that was made from Upper Thames. So I'm not looking at spending the whole 25,000. Like, let's take what it needs and we'll spend up to 25. but if we don't need it, we wouldn't spend it. But I think we still have to have a follow-up at some point in time to make sure that this program is working. And so that's why I would ask that we get a report at some time before next budget session to know whether we're winning this war or whether it's just a futile engagement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll go to Councilor Duncan next.
So just so I'm clear, Councilor McKenzie, are you suggesting we use county staff to do this, or we're gonna give the money to Upper Thames, or?
Well, I guess that's a council decision. I was thinking that, that Upper Thames had the expertise to do this. As far as, the noxious weeds, like I assume that that's already part of our road budget or whatever. But this is kind of an extra and we ended up, we did put it in there. So you got to be a little careful on how you handle some of this stuff. I think you need a little bit of expertise in there. So, but if county staff has that expertise, fine. But certainly it was indicated that Upper Thames, they do handle this. And I assume all the conservation authorities have. Like, I don't know if you've got a problem with mainland.
Yeah, we don't see the hogweed issue here.
No.
Okay, Councilor Wilhelm, you're next.
Yeah, in this report, it indicated that I believe there was 2 roadside instances where staff, I'm assuming, took care of the issues, the 2 of them. And would have to also assume then that they had something in their budget for that. So do they have something in their budget already? And are we doubling this? Is what I'm questioning.
I'll look to, I think Bill Wilson is here if you wanted to come up, Bill, and answer the question.
Thank you. Through the warden to Councillor Wilhelm's question, we do have a roadside budget. It's a general roadside maintenance budget, but that is the budget that we use to fund the roadside vegetation program that the county has for its roadsides. I can't confirm that the 2 instances were in fact on a county road or were they on a local road. I'm not too clear on that.
Councilor McDermott, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Bill, if the weeds that Councilor McKenzie named, if you see them at the side of the road, you would take care of them, even though they're not maybe on this noxious weed list? If you've seen them, you would still take care of them?
Through the warden, with our roadside vegetation program, it takes out the majority of the noxious weeds. Phragmites is one that we know exists on our roadside. We treat that separately from our broader vegetation control because it is treated in the fall of the year. So we have been using some residual funds set aside from our from the broader roadside spraying program to treat those Phragmites ones. So essentially it is coming out of the existing budget.
But you would still be, if those weeds that Councillor McKenzie talked about, if they showed up on our roadside and they needed, say, special treatment, they would get the special treatment.
Yes, through the warden. If they were identified through the weed inspector or an order like of such, then they would be treated through our contractor, yes.
Any other questions or comments? Deputy Warden Orr, go ahead, please.
Kind of feel like we're talking about 2 different things. I think that we are doing a good job with our Phragmites and on our county land. I think that the Upper Thames, when they made their presentation, that they are looking to have an overall plan to deal with it with private landowners and everything. So they're wanting money to deal with it on their own. So it's like that 25,000 maybe we could use it if we were gonna do all of Phragmites. But there's the issue of, is it county land or is it private land? I think Upper Thames is looking for money to deal with it on private land and have a whole scope, because as you said, if we don't deal with it, it hurts somebody down the line. So we want to clarify that?
I'll look to the mover to maybe
Well,
provide some additional clarification.
I guess the reason that I put in county line, county roadside or county property, and I think it was Councillor Agus that made the comment at the one meeting that, you know, we shouldn't be going on private property. It should be the private individual that looks after their own property. On the other hand, I think it's important that we do control it somehow, you know, whether it was a funding to Upper Thames, but like I know what we're going through in West Perth to try and control it, and if it's not being controlled on a wider area, then we're just spinning our wheels, you know? Like, I think we have to have some kind of a resolution to control it in a larger area.
Does that provide clarification looking for Deputy Warden Orr?
And you can change my motion,
Yeah,
like we can adopt it if how you want.
I personally have no problem supporting the Upper Thames to deal with it, but not to the tune of 25,000. I think Oxford was putting in 5,000. To me, that would be fair, but this is the funny thing. If other people don't deal with it, then it gets worse for us.
And I guess to speak to my motion, that's why I said up to 25, like if we only need 5, then spend 5. But we have 25 in the budget. I'm not looking at spending any more than that, but we may not have to spend even half of that. So that's why I worded it the way I did.
CAO Wolf, you have something?
Thank you. Through the warden, it is our understanding that the Upper Thames program will be a community program that will involve private landowners as well. And I believe, my recollection is if we were to give an amount of money, whatever council decides, it would make the program more affordable for the ratepayers, and it would be done through the Upper Towns. And if council is looking for additional information, certainly I agree that we should be bringing back a report if this goes through on how the progress is. But if you do want additional information, we can certainly circle back with them and come back and tell you what a certain amount could get you.
I'll go with Deputy Warden Orr and then Councillor Kasenberg.
So I just want to be fair then for Maitland Valley, Grand River, Sable Bayfield. If they have similar programs, are we supporting them as well?
Councillor Kasenberg.
Yeah, I have to admit to a certain degree of uncertainty. Obviously, I think that in our communities, we need action. And that action probably has 2 forks, if you will. One fork is what we do on our own lands, and the second fork is what we do in supporting those in the private land business. I'm not sure that I saw in Councillor Mackenzie's motion any direction that would give money to the Upper Thames or any conservation authority at this point. And the question then is, if we leave the motion as it is, what is our intention? Do we intend that some of that money could be directed to the Conservation Authority, or do we not intend that? So I think that we should perhaps look for a little bit of clarity and sort of the will of council collectively of whether we're going to give some money to the Conservation Authority or whether we're going to essentially keep it for our own team's purposes and focus our efforts on our own land, allowing the ratepayers to pay their own bills on their land in terms of weed control. I do have a sort of vague concern about that notion that if we sort of leave the ratepayers to sort of handle it, those who don't actually do exacerbate the problem in that the thing can spread further and become less controlled. So it may be that this is one case where we do invest in a program that would essentially act like a community improvement program and support or share some of the costs that our farmers are incurring in efforts to manage, if only to incentivize a greater proportion of them to do more.
Councilor McDermott, you're next.
Just for clarification, we already manage these roads, or sorry, manage these weeds on our roads, and that's already in our budget, right?
Through the warden, that's correct, along the county roadside, yes.
Okay, so Walter, you'd be wanting to put more money into the budget? Is that what we're reading at?
Well, yeah, we're under control. Like, I think at the time, I wasn't aware that we had a fairly good control on the county roads, so, if we're doing our part, like, that's where I was coming from. I think if we're not doing our part to control them on the county property, how can you expect private owners to do it on their property? So if we're leading by an example, then that's fine. And I can withdraw my motion and we can tweak it or work it or however you want. There's a problem out there and we have to get, kind of get it under control. So to Councilor Orr's question, like, I would think that we would use all the conservation authorities equally. And that's why I said to Councilor Duncan about Maitland, because I don't know, what issues they have, nor do I know with the Savo Bayfield quite as much either.
Okay, Councilor Wilhelm, you're next.
Yeah, further to Council Casenberry's, I think that we should take a serious look at education. Because I think there's a lot of ratepayers that really don't know how the issue is with some of these weeds, and perhaps we need to educate them on it.
Is there anything specific, Councilor Wilhelm, you're thinking in terms of the education, like, or just a general?
No, I think in general, and perhaps it could go hand in hand with the tree bylaw as far as educating them at the same time.
Right, CAO Wolf, you had something?
Certainly through the warden, given there seems to need some clarity around how much money, how many conservation authorities, what the actual need is beyond Upper Thames, because I understand that it's only been Upper Thames that has reached out to say, can you consider contributing for this particular program, and that there would be a resident component to it. I would suggest council just do a simple referral motion back to staff for an information report to be able to answer your questions, including what we could do for education. And we can bring that back to the next meeting.
Councilor Eggleston, you're next.
Through your warden, we already pay into the conservation areas through our lower tiers. So I have a problem that we're gonna give them more money, especially if this program is not one that's mandated. This is, to me, it's over and above. Yeah, it might be a problem. It sounds like we're already addressing it here at the county. So I'm not in favor. If Walter's motion, I wanna make sure it's Walter's motion only pertains to the county. You're not talking about giving anything to any of the conservation areas. Is that correct?
That was my initial thought, is with regards to county property.
Okay, I can support that, but I cannot support giving it to the conservation area.
Noted. Councilor Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks through the warden. Going back to the Upper Thames presentation, they did highlight a couple of the programs around, like Oxford County has a clean water program, Huron has one. There was some confusion on the Perth County clean water program that supposedly we have, but I don't think we do have anymore. Perhaps, again, I'd like to maybe refer back to staff report as CAO spoke about, and perhaps look at maybe Perth County doing a clean water program up to an X amount of dollars. Perhaps that may help with extra funding as well, but yeah, I think we need some more information from staff.
Okay, so noted. Anyone else? Councilor Caseberg.
Can I just ask a question of fact here, or, information?
Sure.
Perhaps either you, Warden, or Councillor Duncan, as members of this council who serve on conservation authority boards, will have this information. With regards to my question, what exactly is the mandate to conservation authorities to control and limit and manage vegetation at this point in time?
I'll look to Councillor Duncan at MVCA and then Councillor Smith at Grand River. Try and provide some answers there.
I don't believe there's any mandate to control invasive weeds other than on conservation authority property. At a general landscape level, though, no. This is I think the Upper Thames program is a program they created to provide additional services for their member municipalities. But Maitland Valley, is, to the best of my knowledge, has no program such as that.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, through you, Warren, to echo Councillor Duncan's comments, I don't believe there's any mandate, again, just for our conservation lands. Again, because Upper Thames, if you look at the presentation, the map, the Perth County, where it is in the south particularly, that perhaps it's not, it's invasive in other areas, but I don't believe there's any mandate.
Okay. And then Councillor McDermott, do you want to reply to Upper Thames or do you want me to do it or?
You're the grand poobah, so I'll let you answer.
No, far from it. I'm vice chair this time around, but I think similar to Councillor Duncan's comment, it's not a level one, or I call it level one, it's not a category one mandatory requirement. It would only be, if anything, it would be a category 2 or a 3 service. So it would be something that would have to be negotiated with the member municipality in the watershed. It's just a little bit interesting that we're trying to address it at the county level. I have had discussion with Upper Thames staff about this issue previous, and I got the sense, well, first of all, they were trying to get their own staff and programming aligned at their end. But in that discussion, I got the impression that there had to be some service agreement in place first. The specifics and details before you could engage the authority on that type of project. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that probably to Councillor McKenzie's, trying to answer your question, Councillor McKenzie's motion on to deal with the issue on county controlled lands is separate from trying to engage CAs to do it on private lands, and that's, I think, where a referral motion from staff might be advantageous to deal with private lands portion. Does that help? Okay. Deputy Warden Moore, please.
If we refer this back to staff, could you clarify that if from the lower tier level, the category 3s do cover this type? They may or may not. I think we're all partners of category 3s. Could be wrong. I think we all pay for that service.
So that's looking at staff. I think every member municipality will have the terms of their category 3 agreements listed once covered. So that should be a fairly simple research exercise to bring that back to this council. So, all right, any further discussion on this, Councillor Caseberg?
Sorry to weigh in so many times. Just one last question then, which is directed to staff, and that is, if in fact we're a place within the organization that we are doing a good job and it's within our current budget to control these invasive species and weeds, do we actually need to enrich the budget by 25,000, or is that at this point a moot proposition, and in fact we're already doing the job that needs to get done on the county level? The bigger question is the one that perhaps staff has to bring back to us with regards to the efforts on private land and whether we support that. We need over money.
Through the warden, I think our existing budget for our roadside vegetation management is sufficient for what we're attempting to achieve here. along our roadside. We know we have patches of Phragmites. We've gone through an effort over the last year or two to map those and do more targeted spraying of those locations. And having the mapping is helping us, measure our success on those, right? So going forward with the Phragmites, into this year, we're looking at rolling that out to the local municipalities to help measure and map Phragmites locations along the local road network. But as far as the county's roadside, I think we're in good shape with the budget that we have to control those species along the roadside on county property.
Thank you. Anything else? So, Councillor Duncan, go ahead.
So I'm just curious as to where we're at. We have a motion on the floor currently, so I guess we have to look back to the mover, but what he wants to do with that.
Yeah, and then I guess you're one step ahead of me, Councillor Duncan. I was waiting to see if there's any more questions before I turn. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's a sign for me to go back to the original mover and.
No, that's fine. I don't know what would be in order here, either defer or I'll just withdraw my motion as long as staff is going to come back with some type of a report, as they have said. I'd leave it at that for now.
Okay, so
through
turning the clerk down procedure.
Perfect. So through the wording, if you'd like, we could modify, change the motion to a referral motion. I have something prepared if you'd like for me to read that out.
Go ahead.
The council refers the allocation of $25,000 regarding Perth County weed treatment to staff for further research and to prepare a report for council's consideration, inclusive of whether or not lower tier municipalities category 3s are covered.
I'll move that.
Okay, so Councillor McKenzie will move that referral motion. Is there a seconder for the referral motion?
Wouldn't the original, sorry, point of order, wouldn't the original motion, like you're talking about essentially replacing the original motion?
Correct.
So the original mover and seconder are the ones who should weigh in, if I understand the procedure.
Which was
Councillor Duncan.
Councilor McKenzie and Councilor Casey.
Oh, sorry. Okay, my apologies. Okay, so Councillor McKenzie's has moved this next motion or new motion. So then Councillor Casenberg as seconder.
Yeah, I'm still not crystal clear on what we're asking staff to do. If all we're asking staff to do is to check in with the lower tiers and see whether we've contracted for certain kinds of services, that doesn't really answer the question about whether there's extra money that would be useful in some kind of program with the conservation authorities or with a county-mounted program. So I want to make sure that the motion gives a little bit of latitude there so that the report that comes back can speak to whether there's a deficiency or whether there's an opportunity per Councillor Wilhelm's suggestion for education. I think we need to make sure that it doesn't get too time constraining.
Okay, Clerk Sager.
Thank you. So through the warden, I think that's why when drafting it, I considered the further research piece and taking into consideration council's comments today, which include kind of the consideration of what the conservation authorities programs are that would be considered into that. So taking more of a holistic understanding and the comments that were today, I think staff have adequate direction that would be considered in a report that would come forward with inclusive of that further research.
I mean, given it's comfort, sure. And so I would be happy to stand as a seconder.
Okay, so you will second that. All right. Councillor Eggetts, go ahead, please.
I still don't understand why we're spending so much time on this. This is a lower tier item. They come to the lower tiers, they come to us for money. And now you want to give them money from the county. I don't get this. Why we're doing this, why we're spending so much time, staff researching this. They want money, come to the lower tiers. In fact, the conservation people are all going to change what's going to happen very shortly. And this might not even be anything that we need to worry about. But I think this is a lower tier item, not the county. I can't believe that they come to both of us for money. The same taxpayer, paying both times.
Any further discussion? All right, I'll ask the clerk to read out the motion one more time. We have a mover and seconder, so we have to deal with it, so.
So through the warden, it would read as follows, that council refers the allocation of $25,000 regarding Perth County retreatment to staff for further research and to prepare a report for council's consideration, inclusive of whether or not lower tier municipalities category 3s are covered.
Okay, moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Kasenberg. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that motion's carried. All right, thanks, Bill. Item 8.2.2, the 2026 tax policy. With regards to tax ratios and tax rates, we have Corey Bridges, our Director of Finance and Treasury, to present that report. Good morning, Corey. Floor is yours.
Morning, Warren and Council. So the report before you is essentially how the County of Perth and the lower tiers will divide up their approved tax levies. It's up to the upper tier to set the tax policy for the region of Perth County. And it is to determine what the essentially the assessment values based on impact, to determine the current value assessment or the CPA of each of those properties and classifications of properties and setting the ratios of those classifications. Tax ratios, again, may move between the range of fairness and range of flexibility. There is a chart within the report that indicates Perth County's current range of fairness and range of flexibility of each of the ratios. Perth County is very high in residential and farmland tax class. It makes up about 90% of our total current value assessment, with the remaining classifications being about 10% of it. Staff recommend to maintain the current tax ratios employed in 25 for 2026 until reassessment has been initiated by the province. It has been frozen since COVID, and it looks to be some announcements potentially in the fall on when that new reassessment is to take place. The overall, based on the recommendation, the overall tax rate increase for the County of Perth is 8.74%. And again, under the financial implications of the report, you'll note the tax rates for each of the classes. I'll be happy to answer any questions of council if they have it.
Okay, thanks, Corey, for that report. Speakers list, I'll go with Councillor Wilhelm first.
Thank you. Corey, could you explain, the way I read it, and I might be reading it incorrectly, the commercial on-farm business is rated at 0. So if you have a separate building that you sell retail on, or someone sells retail on, they're 0 rated. Is that correct?
No, I guess you're looking at the chart related to the percentage of assessment that is on farm.
Yeah.
The amount of on farm in Perth County is to the percentage that doesn't even hit a 0.01% of Perth County. There are, I believe, under 10 properties that are on this on farm tax class. And what they do pay is a reduced rate on the commercial, meaning they get a reduction of 2.25 of the commercial rate for those on-farm commercial businesses.
Yeah, I'm not sure who provides you with that information, but I would think that there's at least 10 in Perth South alone, let alone the whole county.
All I'm indicating is that based on the information that I have, the assessed value on those properties do not make up 0.01% of that. So you may be correct, there might be 20 properties. What I'm indicating is that it is definitely not a significant component of the entire tax classifications of Perth County. But there are properties that do have it. It's just that assessed value, because this is based on current value assessment. So the assessed value is reduced to 0.25 of their actual commercial rates on the on-farm component.
Maybe just to follow up on Councilor Wilhelm's question, Corey, like the list, I'm guessing that comes through MPAC. Like how often is that list updated?
That is continuously updated through MPAC, the corporation, on going out and identifying that there is on-farm commercial businesses. It would change at that component at the local level on changing classification for those properties.
So it's a regular.
Correct.
Like
Yes.
almost daily as opposed to quarterly or yearly?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you. Any other questions for Corey on this? Deputy Warden Orr, go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarification, why do we have we have a multi-residential and a new multi-residential,
Yeah.
and they're both the same? I don't know that this affects Perth County, but it might affect City of Stratford or a larger center?
Yeah.
Can you just
Yeah,
explain?
through the warden to Councilor, Deputy Warden Orr's question. So new multi-res was new classification the province had put out, setting it at the ratio of 1. Historically, municipalities, multi-res was a closer to 2 ratio. And to direct your question, we went through a process here at the county on reducing that rate to provide existing multi-res the same benefit as new multi-res. Some municipalities still have multi-res at that existing ratio, and the City of Stratford, their existing multi-res is closer to 2 versus the ratio of 1 that we have.
Okay, follow up.
Just follow up, did we change that all at once, or did we phase that in?
We phased that in over a 5-year period.
Thank you.
I guess I'll ask, when did that phase in? What was the time frame for that phase in?
That began, I believe, at the onset of the previous reassessment that occurred in 2016. So it went from 2016 to 2020. That phase in occurred.
So it's been in existence for a while then? The current.
For the county of Perth, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, recommendation reads as follows. That county council receives the 2026 tax policy, tax ratios, and tax rates report. And that council adopts the same tax ratios for 2026 as those of 2025 for all respective classes as follows. Residential, multi-residential, and new multi-residential at 1.00. Commercial at 1.2469. Industrial at 1.9692. Aggregate extraction at 1.6024. Landfills at 1.2564. Pipelines at 1.6391. And farm and managed forests at 0.2500. Their mover and seconder for that recommendation. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 8.2.3, 2026 temporary borrowing bylaw. And once again, Corey will lead that presentation.
Thank you, Warden and Council. This report is just an informational report on the temporary borrowing of the County of Perth. This would allow the County of Perth to approximately borrow 13 million in funds for the year due to temporary cash flow related specifically to taxation revenue that the county receives on a quarterly basis. The report is in front of you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Corey. Counselors, any questions for Corey on this one? All right, don't see any. Call the question, or sorry, I guess I should read the motion first. Recommendation that council receives the 2026 temporary borrowing bylaw report for information. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor McKenzie, Councilor Smith. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, it's carried. Thank you. All right, Corey, item 8.2.4, 2025 Statement of Remuneration Expenses for Council and Appointed Committees. Daniel Hubbard, Senior Financial Analyst and Deputy Treasurer, will deliver that report. Good morning, Daniel. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Warden and Council. The report before you today is the 2025 Statement of Remuneration and Expenses for Council and Appointed Committees. As required under Section 284 of the Municipal Act, this report provides an annual itemized statement of all remuneration, benefits, and expenses paid to or on behalf of each member of council, as well as the individuals appointed by the municipality to serve on designated boards and committees. The itemized statement is included as Appendix 1. This report also incorporates the required submissions from local boards for 2025, and those amounts have been included as well. If there are any questions regarding this report, I'd be happy to address them. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Questions for Daniel? Councilor Agates and then Deputy Warden Orr.
Through you, I did ask Daniel this question already. When you go to the accessibility advisory, there's nobody from West Perth. So do you pay your people separate? They don't claim it?
Comment, I really don't know.
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
Clerk Sager might have something for you, Councilor Agates.
We do. So through the warden, we encourage everybody to submit their expense forms. However, some individuals do not submit their expense forms. And so that's why you would see that if nobody put in for any expenses, that's why it's not on that document. But every year we do encourage everybody after every meeting to submit their expense forms.
Well, I realize that just seems odd that both of them are the same from the same municipality. That's why I raised it. You know, I can see one, but when you get both of them from the same municipality, it just seems a little odd, but I guess thank you to them for saving us the money.
Deputy Warden Orr, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify with Spruce Lodge, the paragraph before, there's a page amount 84. So there are remuneration expenses paid directly to people for Huron Perth Public Health. But again, is that where they are not, so those people aren't listed, but Jerry and I serve on Spruce Lodge, so we are listed. I do submit my expenses and I do get a check from Spruce Lodge. Is this all right?
Through the warden to Deputy Warden Orr's question. So through the health unit, the compensations received through Perth County's per diems. Through Spruce Lodge, you get a per diem, a reduced per diem for the amount of the meetings that you attend. But with Perth County, we also provide a compensation for committee members of Spruce Lodge to match the amount that a Perth County counselor on a committee would receive for a full day or half day meeting. So for example, you receive a $40 attendance of a Spruce Lodge meeting. We would also provide you $100 to get you to the 140 for a half day meeting for Spruce Lodge attendance.
Okay, thank you.
So, all right. Anyone else? Questions on this report? Okay, seeing none. Recommendation reads as follows, that County Council receives the 2025 Statement of Remuneration and Expenses for Council and Appointed Committees report or information. Moved by Councilor Wilhelm, seconder. Councilor McDermott. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Next up is item 8.2.5, write-off of provincial offenses fines for 2025. Vicki Hamilton, Manager of Court Services, is online and will present our report. Good morning, Vicki. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Warden Trentowski and members of council. The report before you is an annual report seeking council approval for the write-off of fines that are over $1,000 and deemed uncollectible pursuant to Perth County's write-off policy. In the policy, certain criteria have to be met before moving to the write-off stage, which is listed in my report. In every case recommended for write-off, all reasonable collection efforts have been exhausted. For the 2025 cases listed that exceed $1,000, the defendant is deceased, which deems the fine uncollectible and therefore meets the criteria for write-off. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Vicki, for the report. Councilors, any questions on this one? Don't see any questions. The recommendation reads as follows: that County Council receives the write-off of provincial offenses fines for 2025 report, and that Council approves the write-off of the 16 fines totaling $43,869.85 as listed on the attached 2025 write-off of provincial offenses fines over $1,000 in accordance with Perth County Policy Number POA-1.02 titled Write-off of Provincial Offenses Fines. Moved by Councillor Kellum, seconder. Councillor McDermott, discussion. Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Vicki.
Thank you.
Moving on to section 8.3, we have paramedic services containing one report. Item 8.3.1, the ambulance replacement capital approval, delivery in 2027. And with us online would be Mike Adair, Chief of Paramedic Services, and also in person with us is Kaylin Camiso, Commander of Paramedic Services. So the floor is yours, gentlemen. Whoever wishes to start us off, the floor is yours.
Hi, and through the word, and it starts like going around the other side of the moon while you wait to come back in, because I lose connectivity for a second. So through the warden, thank you for the opportunity to present this report. I am from home today, woke up with a cold and didn't want to lead by example as the paramedic chief and make sure that I'm not spreading it to staff. So here I am from home today. This report was written by Tristan Barter, who is away for March break this week. So I'm here to present it. And our commander, Kaylin Camiso, is at the front of the table there in case there's any questions that are technical that I can't answer, because he's been working as part of a succession planning on this project as well. So really, as a reminder to this council, you've heard this before, we're in a 7-year cycle of replacements for our ambulances. So everything we're talking about here today is a scheduled replacement. During COVID, we, because of the significant delays in delivery of vehicles, we had 4 that were delivered in 1 year, which is why we're talking about replacing 4 ambulances next year. And that's what we're discussing today. Historically, I've come to this council and we've single sourced our ambulance purchases through an organization called Crestline Demers. But as of late, there's a new vendor in Ontario, which I see as a good opportunity for us to go to tender. And hopefully we can see some of our some of the respondents responding with sharpening their pencils a little bit as well. So that's why we're going to go out to tender this case. And our purpose today is really to educate you on that, as well as receive authorization to move forward with the purchase of these 4 ambulances. Our project and the way that we're running it, we have separated in the past our Stryker stretchers, but they are also on a 7-year replacement cycle. So we've merged it all into one project and cost center with our finance division just to improve efficiencies. And really, it is one project. And so you can see that the total for the entire project in the budget's just under 1.4 million for the 4 ambulances and the equipment that we need to put onto those ambulances as well. In 2026, in order to order 4 ambulances, our understanding from both vendors is that we'd have to put a deposit down. So we're looking at around 320,000 excluding HST to do so. So today you have before you a report that is seeking authorization to move the tender process forward. We will come back to you with the tender results, just like Public Works does, and I'd be pleased to take any questions or defer them to my colleague.
Okay, thank you, Mike, for that report. Kalen, did you have anything else to add to that, or?
Through the board, no, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, all right, colleagues, questions for either Mike or Kalen on this report? Councillor Wilhelm, go ahead, please.
Yes, I realize that the ambulances all come out of reserve, but would it be better to try and do, say, 2 every year instead of doing 4 and none the next year? And would you get a better costing that way? And the second question I have is that the new supplier, I've read that there may be some issues with their product. What are you putting in place to ensure that they're bidding on a quality product the same as what we've been receiving?
Sure. So I believe through the warden, there are 2 questions. One about the potential issues with the new vendor, and I'll respond to that, and then I'll ask my colleagues over in finance to maybe weigh in with respect to how the reserves works, and if it's better to order 2 and 2 versus 4 all at the same time. So for the first question, we wrote our RFT in such a way that all of our safety features are considered in the RFP or RFT, sorry, and we are fairly stringent in making sure that we get what we need to move things forward. That certainly doesn't prevent the new organization, or TriStar is what they call it, to bid on that as well and improve things. So that's really how we managed it. To answer the question is through the RFT, just making sure that our criteria is strong enough. We have had some conversations with London, who has worked with having some TriStars. Haven't had any real sort of more neutral feedback at this time. That's I don't know if you have anything to add, Caitlin, or.
Through the word, no, I don't. They're very new to Ontario, so we have not heard any specific issues that have come up. London is, as Mike said, one of the only ones that have ran a trial with them so far. So they're new and upcoming.
Okay, thank you. I guess the second part of Councillor Wilhelm's question, Corey, you can provide some information there.
So through the word to Councillor Wilhelm's question related to these items spread out over multiple years versus any particular year is again depending on the amount that we try to generate to put into the reserves to replace these items. We're looking at what is going into the reserve versus, and that is trying to be smoothed out over multiple years. So any particular one year that has a significant amount, it's a reason why reserves are in place due to these potential fluctuations. Just another item is the amount of potential bridges that might be coming due. It's similar example versus spreading it and purchasing 2 this year and purchasing 2 next year to just purchasing all 4 in one particular year. The reserve is the kind of the use to be able to do that, and looking at what we're smoothing out and trying to put in the reserve to ensure that we have those funds available when the purchase is done.
Any follow-up, Councillor Wilhelm? All right, Councillor Eggetz, go ahead, please.
And through you, just a follow-up on that. Do you think we'll get a better price when we have 4 instead of 2?
Through the warden, that was part of our thinking was if we have a bulk order, we're not ordering 20 ambulances at once, I understand. But we are ordering 4, so our hope is that they might sharpen the pencil slightly, or I shouldn't say that slightly dramatically, but either way that they might sharpen the pencil with respect to ordering 4. There may be some efficiencies on our sides and as well, because when we get the 4 ambulances and like we can have parts on standby for those and some of those other types of things if you know over the 7 years of their life cycle we have 4 that are the same and we did consider if there's an issue with one of those however that we may have to issue times 4 as well but there is a possibility that we would get a bit of a better price if we are ordering 4 at once.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Any other questions? Councillor McKenzie.
Well, just further to Councillor Egget's comments. I thought at one time that we went with Metaviv or another organization or group and tried to do some group purchases. And I'm wondering, do we still do that or not? Like, if we were looking at 4 and somebody else is looking at 2 and another county's looking at 2, if you got together and you would maybe have your 20 ambulances that you were going to order at once.
Yeah, through the we certainly will look at which of our sister brother agencies are ordering them through Medivy this year and see if that can make a price difference. So we can include that in the RFT and mention that. In terms of other services, we have not, there's not like a purchasing consortium for vehicles that will save money or anything like that in Ontario at this point of time.
Okay. Yes, I had one question, and that could go to either Mike or Corey. On the existing units, is there any residual or resale value of any significance? And if there is, does that money get circulated back into the reserve, or how is that handled?
Through the word to your question, it would be the proceeds to return to the fleet reserve, any proceeds that we do receive. So on an annual basis, any proceeds return to the fleet reserve.
Okay, thank you. All right, don't see any other questions coming forward, so the multi-part recommendation. First part, that council receives the report titled Ambulance Replacement Capital Approval Delivery 2027. I'll look to councillors to accept that report first. So moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor McDermott. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It's carried, thank you. Next part, that council authorizes Perth County Paramedic Services to proceed with the County of Perth tendering process for the purchase of 4 replacement ambulances to be delivered during 2027 as budgeted for, and that county council authorizes Perth County Paramedic Services to proceed with the County of Perth tendering process for the procurement of 4 Stryker powered cot replacement stretchers as part of the same capital project to be delivered during 2027. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, seconded by Councillor Eggetz. Final call for discussion. Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Mike, and thanks, Caleb. Appreciate it. Okay, moving up to our next section, 8.4, Public Works. We have some tender results to receive and discuss. 8.41, tender results, Perth Road 130 and Perth Road 135. And with us, we have Bill Wilson, Director of Public Works, as well as John McClelland, Public Works Director. Good morning, gentlemen. What was yours?
Thank you, Warden Trinkowski. Through you, good morning, council. The purpose of this report is to present the results of tender 2026-031-02 for the rehabilitation of portions of two county roads, Perth Road 130 and Perth Road 135. Both projects are identified in the 2026 capital budget. The Perth Road 130 project includes approximately 2 kilometers of rehabilitation between Perth Line 32 and Sebringville. And the Perth Road 135 project includes approximately 5 kilometers of road rehabilitation from Highway 8 to a point just north of Line 39 near Warburg. Both projects will utilize cold-in-place asphalt recycling followed by asphalt surface lift of asphalt. And due to their similar scope and proximity to one another, we let one tender go for both these projects. The tender was prepared internally and issued through the county's online bidding system, resulting in 7 submissions. The tender results are listed in Table 1 of the report, with Brantco Construction submitting the lowest bid. Brantco's total tender value of $1,136,553, excluding HST, is within the approved budgets for both projects. The contract includes indexing provisions for asphalt cement and is also subject to unit rate pricing. These factors will impact the final costs depending on the AC market conditions at the time of construction, as well as actual quantities of work completed. Additional costs of granular shoulder placement and culvert work are outside this tender's scope. These are estimated at $140,000 and will be managed as separate project expenses. The overall combined budget for these projects is $1,425,000. And a construction schedule will be finalized following award of tender. Similar to other pavement contracts, the contractor is required to maintain single lane traffic for the duration of this work. And that concludes my summary of the report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Bill. Any questions? Councillor Wilhelm, go ahead, please.
Yes. Thank you. And this may be putting you on the spot, but with the price of oil going the way it is, do you think with the indexing of the AC, these projects will still come in under budget?
Go ahead, John.
Through the warden, great question. Obviously, we've seen this happen in the past. There doesn't seem to be necessarily a direct correlation between the AC index for hot mix asphalt and what you may see at the fuel pumps and things like that. But yeah, there could be an impact certainly this year as we get into the construction season. So we'll be monitoring that. To sort of protect us and the contractor, we do build into our tenders and our contracts an AC index. So when we go out for tender, we establish a price of what we think the AC index may go to in the summertime. Again, it's a bit of a guess. We try to be conservative in a way, and then if the AC price at that time is below our established number, by a significant amount. There's a fluctuation of a few dollars that we don't consider that index. But one way, if it's lower, the county gets back money from this AC index equation or formula. The other way around, if it goes much higher, then obviously the contractor has to bear the brunt of those costs of the AC at that time, and the formula kicks in so that the municipality then would be paying the contractor more. But we're pretty confident we've established a pretty good number, and then all those contractors that bid on this tender are bidding on the AC index at the same index price.
Yes, similar. Do these tenders have a fuel surcharge option in it as well for the hauling of the asphalt, et cetera?
Through the warden, no, it does not.
I guess maybe if I had a supplementary question, like, for either John or Bill, the AC asphalt cement index, who sets that number? Is that the Ministry of Transportation, or who's the authority that sets that value?
Through the wording, correct, it's the MTO price index.
It's, okay, so that's the number that governs throughout all contracts in the province. Okay, correct. Okay, thank you. Anything else, say John or Bill on this one? Okay, if not, then the recommendation reads as follows: that council receives the tender results, Perth Road 130 and Perth Road 135 report, and that council award tender 2026-031-02 to Brantco Construction, and that council authorize the warden and clerk to execute the agreement between the corporation of the County of Perth and Brantco Construction. Mover and seconder, moved by Councillor Wilhelm, seconded by Councillor Eggetts. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is carried. Thank you. And next is 8.4.2, tender results for Perth Line 43. Bill, go ahead with that report, please.
Thank you again for you, Warden Trinkowski. Similarly, the purpose of this report is to present the results of tender 2026-031-01 for the rehabilitation of Perth Line 43, 15-kilometer section of County Road extending from Perth Road 119 easterly to Wilmot East Hope Road at the boundary of the region of Waterloo. This project includes cold-in-place asphalt recycling with hot mix asphalt surface and minor curb and gutter extension in Amory. In addition to that, an additional small component of paving for the township of Perth East was included in the tender as a separate component of the bid. The tender was again issued through the county's online bidding system, generating 7 submissions. The results again are listed in table 1 of the report, with Brantco Construction submitting the lowest bid. Brantco's low bid submission of $2,308,269.50, excluding HST, includes both the counties and the Perth East components of the work. Breaking the tender down into its parts, the county's portion of the bid is $2,289,892, which falls within the approved project budget of $3.75 million. As with other road projects, again, asphalt cement indexing and unit rate pricing will influence final costs, and granular shoulders, culvert work, and quality testing are estimated to be $575,000 and are outside of this tender scope and will be again managed separately. The construction schedule will be finalized following tender award, and the contractor again is required to maintain single lane of traffic during construction. That concludes my summary of the report. I'm happy to address any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Questions for Bill on this one? Councillor Smith.
Thanks, through you, Warden. Thanks, Bill. John, just for clarification, then the county portion as mentioned is 2.289. The total project is 2.308. So the Perth East share is the difference, which looks to me like about 18,000. Is that correct?
Through the warden, yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? John, you had something?
Sure. Let me just sort of add a comment or two here for council's benefit. Obviously with this particular tender here, we see it's fairly significantly under budget. That's on the contractor side. We do have some additional work to do on this project, which will sort of increase the project cost. But overall, we're expecting this project to come in well under budget. If you're thinking that we're not estimating our projects very well, no, that's not correct. There's a few things that have happened here in this particular tender anyways. Certainly with this project, there's a volume of work. So we're talking about 15 kilometers of work. It's fairly straightforward, the construction project, which also helps. And then the proximity of the project to a number of hot mix locations is also, we're seeing the benefit of that. So, and if you take a look at, we've had a lot of great bids, and I commend Bill and our staff at the county for getting our tenders out early. It's one of our strategies to try and get better numbers. And we've been successful this year, which is great. I'll also say that, if you take a look at those numbers of all those submissions, about the halfway point of those submissions, we're about relatively on budget when we estimate these projects. We're always hopeful that all our projects will come in under budget. So we're trying to be conservative, but at the same time being realistic where we expect these prices to come in. And there are a number of factors that will play into that. What I will also say is that this is a great news story today, because we are not taking as much money out of our road reserve. And I know Treasurer Bridges has hinted on reserves today, and I know I've hinted on reserves certainly during the budget process. And if I might remind council, is that 2025 winter maintenance, we're expecting, and I'm going to give you a little glimmer into so you're not hit with the shovel come April or May when we get the final results. But we're looking at a significant being over budget in winter maintenance for 2025. We had originally budgeted 4.8 million. I have projected back in Q3 year end that we'd be about probably 6 million, which is 1.2 over budget. I can tell you that the numbers we're looking at right now and not yet finalized, we're at 7 million. So approximately 2.2 million over budget in 2025 winter maintenance. We're not up to a great start in 2026 either, are we? But here's some good news. So the road reserve, that's where you've approved for to take out that deficit, sorry. That is coming from the road reserve. That new number that I'm giving you as the actuals would basically deplete the road reserve and then some. On the flip side, because we've been so busy at winter maintenance, both in 2025 and 2026, that means we don't have as much time to work on other general maintenance items. So therefore, that budget, we're seeing a surplus to the tune of about 600,000. So that's going to offset some of that deficit in winter maintenance overall. Then again, when we see these results come in from our tendering, we're funding the majority of these projects through our reserves. There's some grant funding as well that funds some of these projects, but for the most part, they're being funded out of reserves. So if we're not, if all our tender results are coming in lower, that's great. That money just does not come out of reserves. So the picture may not be as horrific at the end of the day, but certainly I want to brace you for impact when you see the 2025 final numbers for winter maintenance, and why it's so important to have our own reserve for winter maintenance, and that we're not taking it out of the road reserve, which is meant for capital type items.
Okay, thanks, John, for that crucial piece of information. Yeah, I'm just doing some quick math as you're presenting the numbers, that in a perfect world, any underages on contracts and the general maintenance fund could, if things work out, possibly cover, but wait and see. We'll wait for the numbers to bear out when you report later.
Through the warden, and Treasurer Bridges can confirm this, we'll be taking money out of the road reserve to fund the deficit in winter maintenance. That's pretty much a given. It's how much that was going to be, certainly not going to be the 2.2 million that we're over budget.
Right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I guess the only other comment on this project is that I can say is that the residents, the local residents and the road users will be very excited. The local garages and repair facilities will be sad to see this one get smoothed over, but it's well overdue, so. All right, recommendation reads as follows, is that the council receives the tender results for Perth Line 43 report, and that council awards tender 2026-03101 to Brant Co-Construction, and that council authorizes the warden and clerk to execute the agreement between the corporation of the county of Perth and Brant Co-Construction. Moved by Councillor Kellum, seconded by Councillor Smith. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. All right, council reports, section 9. Haven't received anything in writing. Council reports, I don't know. Looking around the room, I don't see anything forthcoming orally from colleagues, so we'll move into our bylaws, section 10. 10.1, 4059-2026-031-01 tender award, that bylaw 4059-2026 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 19th day of March. Moved by Councillor McDermott, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Discussion. All the question, all those in favor? If any, that's carried. 10.2, 4060-2026, 2026-031-02 tender award. That bylaw 4060-2026 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 19th day of March 2026. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor McKenzie. The question, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to 4061-2026 tax ratio bylaw. That bylaw 4061-2026 be read a first, second, and third time. Finally passed this 19th day of March. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, seconder. Deputy Warden Orr. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. 4062-2026 tax ratio or tax reduction bylaw. That bylaw 4062-2026 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 19th day of March. Moved by Councillor Duncan, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Carried. It's carried. Turn the page and to item 10.5, 4063-2026, the 2026 requisition bylaw. That bylaw 4063-2026 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 19th day of March 2026. We were seconded by Councillor Kellum, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And our last bylaw to consider today, 10.6, is 4064-2026, the 2026 borrowing bylaw. That bylaw 4064-2026 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 19th day of March. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, and that is carried. Thank you. Item 11, any notices of motions? None were submitted beforehand, but call around the table to see if there are any now? Seeing none. Item 12, other business. Is there anything that colleagues would like to bring forward at this time under other business? Seeing none. Item 13, announcements. No announcements. All right, so we're down to section 14, closed session meeting and reported out. So the recommendation is as follows. That in accordance with section 239 of the Municipal Act, we will endeavor into a closed session. And the recommendation reads that the council moves into closed session at approximately 10:29 a.m. in accordance with section 239 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001 C25 as amended, to consider 4 items: a matter pertaining to labor relations / identifiable individual HR, a matter pertaining to labor relations / identifiable individual CAO, a matter pertaining to litigation CAO, and a matter pertaining to identifiable individual HR. One seconder to go into closed. Moved by Councillor McDermott, seconded by Councillor Smith. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. We will go into closed session, and before we engage, we'll take some time for a comfort break. Okay, County Council reconvenes into open session at 12:20 p.m. and we've dealt with our closed session matters. Council has given their direction to staff accordingly. So we move on to item 15, our confirmatory bylaw. Item 15.1, confirmatory bylaw 4065-2026. That bylaw 4065-2026 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the corporation of the County of Perth at its regular meeting held March 19, 2026 is read a first, second, and third time and finally passed March 19, 2026. By Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Deputy Warden Orr. Any discussion? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried. And then item 16, adjournment. Seeing as council has addressed all of the agenda items brought before it today. Item 16.1, that recommendation that the council meeting be adjourned at approximately 12:22 p.m. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Discussion. Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. We are adjourned at 12:22 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Good meeting.